All set.
Thank you. Meeting call to order. Today is Tuesday, June 8th. It is now 7:01 p.m. Town Council meeting via Zoom.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson,
Here.
and Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum on record. First up on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. There are 3 sets of minutes, one from May 18th, the financial town meeting, our regular council meeting, and our special council meeting on May 20th. And also cancellation of taxes is requested by the tax assessor.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay, next up is business licenses 01 through 56. If anyone would like to pull any to discuss.
I'd like to recuse myself.
Perhaps we should. Yep. I'm sorry.
Councilman Messier is recusing himself.
Perhaps we should pull the boomerangs one just to talk about it, to find out how we've done in the last couple of weeks. Other than that, I don't see any that need to be pulled from the.
I need a motion to move and then seconded.
Well, I'll motion to. I'll move the licenses other than 01.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all but number 1. If you want, actually, Mary Beth, you can keep 1 in there. We can discuss 1. It's all 52, and we can discuss all 52, or we can discuss number 1 if you'd like.
That's fine. Then I'll move the business licenses. Yes.
Moved and seconded, and discussion, number 1. Request for Boomerangs Roadhouse for amplifier loudspeaker license for events to be held at 293 Providence Street from June 13th, 2021 to October 31st, 2021.
Just wondering if we have an update, how that's gone. I know there was even some discussion about whether Mr. Kane wanted to see if it worked. I have not gotten any complaints about parking or noise. I don't know if anyone else has. As I said, just trying to find out what.
I'll defer to Chief Ferrone. He and his team did some follow-up, and he has the firsthand information.
So we did. We had a meeting with the police department, building department, fire department, and we came up with some concerns that we had. I have spoken with Mr. Kane today, and we are going to meet tomorrow for our concerns to get those addressed. He seemed very workable about those concerns that we had. So what I would recommend is that, you know, if we're going to approve the loudspeaker, that we make that contingent upon the approval last meeting where we made it, we're going to review. They're going to have one this weekend, the 13th, and then the 15th, we're going to discuss it again and see how it went, whether it's going to go forward. So I would recommend that we, approve this contingent or parallel with the business license for the car show. Because this is just the loudspeaker amplifier aspect of the show. If that makes sense to everybody. So, some of our concerns, just so you understand, we have concerns about traffic flow, how people, the public's going to come in, and if the cars are coming in and they're going out, what separation is going to be between the show area and, where the pedestrians are going to be. Also, the pizzeria is going to continue to operate, how the drivers are going to be getting in and out, how that traffic flow is going to go, how that's going to be monitored by the company and the personnel there. I believe we're going to require them to have a police detail, but I believe that function, I would defer to the police department on that, but I believe that function would be just on Providence Street for entrance and exit, not necessarily in the parking lot. I think that's going to be up to the business owner in the parking lot. But, that's kind of where we are right now. And we're going to be talking like I said, tomorrow, make sure that everything is as we would like it.
Any questions for the
So-
chief on that?
I do. Chief, I know that you said a police detail on Providence Street, but with everything you're requiring, I'm sure the business owner is going to comply because he obviously wants the best event possible. But obviously you're dealing with the public, multiple people, other businesses. How are you going to observe exactly what's going on and how should things be shifted around if they need to be? Are you going to have somebody of your staff on site?
That's a great idea. So I will have somebody there to take care of that and monitor that. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief?
Mr. President,
Mr. Solicitor?
just two things. Number one, whatever the decision of the council is tonight, it's not written in stone. So if there are issues going forward, the council has the right to address those concerns as it relates to this application and the council's decision as to whether or not to confirm it and award it. And the other issue is just on the resolution itself. It says date May 23rd, 2021, and then it says and October 31st, 2021. I believe that should be through October 31st, 2021.
Correct. And again, all licenses, no matter which one, all 56 of them on here, still all require police, fire, building approval, and also tax office. So again, just us approving it, and it still has to go through police and fire and everyone else. Any further comment? Any public comment on the licenses? Seeing no hands, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier? He recused himself.
He's recused.
Yep. Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes, with the provisions noted by Chief Ferone.
And I vote yes.
Okay, appointments and resignations. First is a request from Joseph Gardosic. I hope I didn't hack that, for reappointment to the planning board for term ending July 20th, 2026.
Perfect. You said the name perfectly.
Oh, good.
I would move the appointment or reappointment of Joe Gardosic
I
to
second.
the planning board.
Moved in second.
I'll second
Moved in second. Any discussion? Joe does a great job on here.
I would like to speak favorably on behalf of Joe. Does a great job on the board.
Absolutely. I've attended a few meetings, very professional, does his research. Totally agree with you, Al. Take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes,
And I vote yes.
All right, next up is a request from Alan Horek for reappointment to the Zoning Board of Review for term ending July 2026.
move reappointment of Alan Horick to the zoning board of review.
I second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
My same comments.
Yes, I agree. Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes,
And I vote yes.
Battery high. Connected to.
David,
Go ahead, Al.
I was just going to comment that I've been with East Greenwich Zoning Planning, West Warwick since 1995. I think we have the best planning board and zoning board that I have ever served with in all those years.
Thank you, Al.
All right, lastly, a request from Jerry Leet for reappointment to the Zoning Board of Review for term ending July 2026.
move the reappointment of Jerry Lee to the zoning board of review.
I second.
Moved and second, any discussion?
The same.
No other discussion, roll call vote, Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay. Ordinances. 01, first reading of ordinance 2021-7, amending section 3.29 definitions, family members, section 5.6.16.21, accessory family dwelling units, and section 8.1, alteration of non-conforming use.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Al,
This ordinance is bringing our zoning code in line with the state statute. The statute changed the definition of family. That's the change that I'm requesting here. The statute deleted the words with disabilities for our in-law apartment section. And finally, I don't know how or why the zoning code in seeking an alteration to non-conforming development stated that they needed a variance from the zoning board. They need a special use permit, and that's just a correction in that. So basically, the three sections I'm requesting amendments in order to bring our zoning code in compliance with state statutes.
any questions for Al?
No, but I would note, David, that the ordinance itself says the first reading was at a meeting on May 11th, 2021. And I believe this indeed is the first reading.
Yes, I did research that, and this is indeed the first reading.
So we would want to change that to have the first reading be on June 8th.
Did you get that, Sarah?
Want to make a note for Paula?
Any other comment? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay. Next up is the first reading of ordinance 2021-8, amending Appendix C traffic ordinances.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion,
Request-
Al,
Requesting a stop sign on Tampa Street southerly direction at the intersection of Mason Street, requested by Councilman Licciardi. Went to the traffic committee. The traffic committee agreed, requested that I prepare the amendment and send it to the council for action.
Just to add, the reason I brought this up, I had some residents on Tampa question me. They wanted me to come down and just kind of hang out there for a little bit. And the speed, especially now, I mean, I'm out all the time in West Warwick, and the speed is horrendous. I mean, it's in a 25-mile zone. People are flying. And on this particular intersection, where Tampa's a straightaway and there's all these little cut throughs in between, people don't even stop it going from Tampa onto the cut through or onto the cut through onto Tampa. It's just a solid motion, and kids are playing outside. People are riding their bikes. It's really just an accident waiting to happen. And I'm sure that's not the only place. It's just, and I don't know what to do about it. It's not more so much for speed, just speed, but it's just the behavior of a lot of the drivers. I think it's erratic behavior. That's all I got.
Thank you, Councilman Nate. Anything else? Any other comment? Any public comment on the ordinance? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson.
That's a hard one, right? Yes.
I keep stumbling tonight on this one.
No, you do.
And I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance 03, second reading of ordinance 2021-9 to appoint Mark A. Knott as town manager and director of public safety of the town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We met last week publicly, discussed this. Does anybody have any comments? Again, this is second reading.
I think we covered most of it last week. I do believe Mark has done a great job in the interim role and deserves to be appointed town manager. The fact that he is West Warwick, not born and bred, but since 2 years old, and has spent most of his work life here as well, I think is a great benefit to us, and I'm excited about him taking on a new challenge.
And when he introduces himself, you don't have to say interim anymore.
That's right.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I think Mark's done an incredible job. When we made him interim, I don't think we really knew where it was going to go. I think we all like Mark, and I think he's overexceeded any expectations we've had in this position. And I'm glad to have him aboard in a full-time position. That way I know what to call him. I never know if it's town interim town manager / police chief. At least now we know what to call him. So I think it's great.
And actually, with that being said, to be honest, Mark has vacating the police chief's position. That position will be filled. We obviously, and there'll probably be a lot of movement in the police department and everything else that goes on along with it. So just want to make that clear that we are still going to have a police chief.
The title of Director of Public Safety actually is a title. It does not come with any money. Sorry, Mark. But it allows Mark to maintain his standing within the law enforcement community should he choose to use it in the future. And we felt that was very important. It was important to Mark, and the police chief and fire chief report to the town manager anyway. So it makes perfect sense in this instance, given Mark's background, to have that title also.
And I know we mentioned it a lot last week. I don't think we had many people watch. We should reiterate that this is not going to cost the town any more money than if Mark were to go back to the police chief position and we hired another town manager. It's equal when it comes to all the monies. So that way, I know that got brought up before. I know, Mary Beth, you clarified it last week, but just because I know a lot of people weren't tuned in.
That's correct.
Any other comment? Any public comment on the ordinance? Seeing none and hearing none. Roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi?
Yes, and good luck, Mark.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Absolutely, yes.
And I vote yes. Good luck, Mark, and
Either
you'll be hearing from us soon.
Reserve comment until after new business.
All righty.
All right, new business, street abandonment for a portion of Crudale Drive.
And we're gonna let Tom Cronin come in as a panelist. I also need, is this a resolution?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I definitely need a motion.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Cronin, I know you're here. Just unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, excuse me. I'm trying to get my video to turn on here. I'm struggling a bit. Technology, you know. There we go. My apologies. All right. Tom Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island, for the applicant, Arpin. This is a public hearing on a street abandonment of a portion of Crudale Drive in the West Warwick Business Park. We were here before the council on April 20th, 2021 for introduction and scheduling purposes. And since that time, notice has been sent to the abutters, and publication has taken place in the Kent County Daily Times for 3 weeks. The portion of Crudale Drive to be abandoned is actually not reached by Crudale Drive in the business park. It's actually reached by Energy Way. It is behind the Arpin warehouse. You know, that's the landmark. There's not much there, but that's the location. To the south of the portion to be abandoned is Arpin Associates at 99 James P. Murphy Highway. They're the owner of AP 12-2 lot 331. To the north, the other abutting owner is the town of West Warwick, the owner of AP 12-2 lot 7. Lot 7 is about 7.5 acres of vacant land. I understand it's a little wet. I'm no biologist, but that's what I've been told. At any rate, it's not developed. It's vacant wooded wetland. The area to be abandoned is a half-acre land. It's about on average 372 feet in length, 60 feet wide, a paper street. The area to be abandoned begins at the end of the pavement on Energy Way, which runs to the east of 99 James P. Murphy Highway and leads behind Arpin to the back of the warehouse. It runs almost perpendicular to the west from there and ends 372 feet later in a wooded wetland. The area to be abandoned has never been used, developed, or identified as a public street. In the town of West Warwick, it's a paper street. It's important to note in terms of my request tonight that this portion of Crudale Drive does not connect with LaCroix Drive or the rest of Crudale Drive to the west. There's a wooded wetland between the two, so that even though on paper it continues through, in reality it stops behind the Arpin warehouse, as we've identified on our request. We stopped at the property line of the town of West Warwick and didn't continue so as not to interfere with anyone else's rights in this matter. As this has never been used as a public street and has only been used by Arpin to access their warehouse, we're making a request here that the street be abandoned. This request, I made an additional request in my motion that's a little different than the state statute, in that the town of West Warwick owns the land to the north of the portion of Crudale Drive to be abandoned. I also asked that the town of West Warwick relinquish its rights to the one half of the street, which would normally be abandoned, to lot 7. It's no advantage to the town of West Warwick to have that 30 feet of strip of land added to that vacant lot 7. And so I've made that request. And it is of note that lot 7 would be still accessible by the paved portion of Energy Way, which runs to the east of the Arpin property. So I don't wish to be redundant. We've gone over this once before. Those are the basics of my request. And I thank the council for its time.
So, Tom, going down Energy Way, as the pavement comes to an end, there's an entrance to the business on the left-hand side, correct?
There's if you're going up Energy Way from James P. Murphy Highway after Arpin, it goes along the eastern boundary of Arpin and then kind of curves a little bit at the end and leads to the back parking area, I guess you'd call it, of that Arpin warehouse.
But there's also a building across the street on Energy Way, correct?
Right, that's correct. That is correct.
Is there any interference or concerns there with their entranceway? It's at the very end over there.
No, there's no portion of Energy Way which would be interfered with in any manner.
And I'm quite certain, Tom, you just stated it, but that vacant lot that we have is accessible through another piece of land. Is that correct? There's another road?
It's accessible through the same street that President Goslin just mentioned, Energy
Yes.
Way.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
On the
If
other
I,
side, it doesn't connect on the other side though, you said, right? Towards
doesn't.
LaCroix. I know it shows it on paper, but on the other side, when I was traveling around there the other day, just checking it out, when you go on the other side of the wooded area from LaCroix Drive, there's no connection already.
That's correct. It does not connect. There's a wetland in there, and there's not even a pathway. It's just woods. So the road, the portion we're asking to be abandoned would stop right at that where it's wooded right there. That would remain intact, I guess.
Let me ask, what are the future plans with that land if we abandon that road?
The land is going to be used by that warehouse. There's a current plan before the planning and zoning boards of the town of West Warwick to administratively subdivide the warehouse from the office space of Arpin, and the roadway would be used to access and utilize the warehouse portion of that administrative subdivision. That subdivision has been through master plan at planning, and dimensional variances have been granted at zoning. It will return to planning for preliminary and final approval in the future.
Mr. President,
Mr. Williamson?
I think there's only going to be one issue. Once the property has been abandoned, and if in fact it is the town of West Warwick's, even though council has amended his application, I think the process will still have to go through the financial town meeting where the taxpayer has to agree to convey the property to the private entity. So I don't know if Mr. Cronin wants to discuss that issue.
Well, we prefer to have the 60-foot width if available, given its potential use associated with the warehouse. However, if it would be overly burdensome to the town to
No,
go
it
through
wouldn't
that
be, it wouldn't be,
process.
it's more of a timing issue, Tom. The town council cannot convey the property to you pursuant to your application or your amended application. In order to do so, it would be before the financial town meeting next year, and then it would be placed on the all-day referendum for taxpayers to either agree or deny your request. It's got nothing to do with any type of hindrance on the town. It's just by process, it has to go through that procedure. So it'd be a timing.
And I'm sorry, Solicitor, I'm going to also have the map put up on the screen so everybody's able to see it.
Sure. Yes.
So, Mr. President, the area that Tom is talking about is right here where I'm moving the arrow on the mouse. I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yep.
So this wetland is what he's talking about for Crudale Drive. If you can see where Crudale comes across here. This was never developed and it is wet. And then this is the land that the town owns back here. So the driveway for that other business, their access is over here on the left-hand side of Energy Way, which isn't going to be impacted, as he was saying. And part of the stuff we've reviewed is the work that they're doing between the two buildings on the Arpin property. And it's already been discussed with stuff through the plan review process.
Mr. Williamson, would it be procedurally accurate for the board to grant my abandonment this evening for the half of the road abutting 99 James P. Murphy Highway, the Arpin property, and also grant me the right to proceed for the remaining half of the road adjacent to Lot 7, the West Warwick Town property, at next year's financial town meeting.
Well, that would be fine. And again, my only question would be is, your client is not wishing to obtain the entire parcel. They're only attempting to obtain a portion of it, correct?
That's correct.
So yeah, that's the portion that would have to be before the voter at the financial town meeting and the referendum. So if anything that you do with zoning or planning or with the building department, just be careful to indicate that that piece of property would be subject to the 2022 financial town meeting and then the subsequent all-day referendum for a conveyance from the town to Paul Arpin.
Okay, so I will, Mr. President, then amend the proposed resolution I have submitted to reflect Mr. Williamson's comments and present it to you for your signature, so that if the council agrees to the abandonment, the portion adjacent to the Arpin property would be abandoned by the town and become the property of the Arpin piece by operation of the statute and this council's approval. And we would further reserve our right in the future to present the additional land in question adjacent to the town of West Warwick's land to the financial town meeting, if it so moved my client at that time.
Mr. President, this abandonment does not affect in any way the planning or zoning. Master plan has already been granted by planning. Zoning has already approved what they have to approve. It goes back to planning for preliminary and final, but the abandonment of this street has no impact on anything that is before or has been before those boards.
So
Can we put that picture back up again? Joe, can you put that back up? I'm sorry, David.
And while he's putting that up, I just want to confirm with that lot number 7, will the town of West Warwick still have access to their lot?
So
So can you explain to me once more what the resolution, so lot 7 is this lot up and back that
The one that got the
where
arrow for the mouse
where the
on.
cursor is, right?
Yep.
And what is it, Tom, what is it that you're asking for?
So if you look at the boundary lines of that lot 7, and you went over approximately 100 feet from the eastern boundary along that parking lot, we're asking for abandonment from that point until the property line with lot 111, which is actually located on LaCroix and Crewdale on the upper right-hand corner. So there's a portion of Crewdale which is between Energy Way as it ends around lot 7 there, and the boundary line with lot 111, that's the portion to be abandoned.
So Dave, I'm sorry.
How do we get into so I still want to know how we get into
That's
lot
still,
7.
that is still there. If you were looking, I'm looking at the map. So when Energy Way starts to take a right-hand turn,
Correct.
before it turns into Crewdale, there's a portion right there that gives the town access to its lot. That part of the road's not going to be abandoned where the arrow is.
Right about where the cursor is, that would maintain that portion.
So Joe, can you help me with the cursor? What are we talking about being abandoned tonight?
So where my
To the
cursor
right.
is, going
Yes.
toward the right, up into
Yeah.
somewhere in this area is what Mr. Cronin is talking about.
Joe, it actually stops
isn't-
where the boundary of lot 111 is.
So right here where I am now?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, Mr. Solicitor, isn't
Yes.
that Crewdale? Even though, isn't that technically still Crewdale?
Crewdale, if I can't do it on the cursor, but Crewdale is going to start and run until it runs into Energy Way.
Crewdale stops
No.
somewhere in the area of the corner and changes
Right.
over to Energy Way.
So I'm looking at the map. It shows that the portion or the abandonment portion is a straight rectangle with straight lines. one that's going to abut the western boundary of the LaCroix property, and also abut, obviously, the West Warwick property. As you're moving, as you're moving west, the line will be drawn straight where the end of the, it looks like the end of the tree line would be. So that open area of pavement right there, even though that would still be considered energy way, that would allow the town access to its property off of energy. So even if you abandon the portion that Attorney Cronin is asking for, you still have access to the town's lot via energy way.
So, no, I get that. I'm comfortable with that. My question is, so maybe, Mr. Cronin, I have to ask you, what's the additional piece that you're looking for?
So when, by around statute, when a street is abandoned, one half goes to each owner on each side of the road.
Okay,
So
Thank
this
you.
is a 60-foot wide road. So
so
30
30
feet,
goes,
30 feet will go to 99 and 30 feet will go to 7. I'm asking for all 60 feet. In addition to my half, I'm asking the town of West Warwick for their half as
give up.
well.
Okay.
And Mr. Williamson's letting me know that I need to take an additional step to do that.
Have we? Okay,
Council's done
Even
this
though
in the past. On a
and
couple-
it's gone before the voters?
Yes. There's an actual question. The last time, I believe, and Council President Goslin can confirm this, I believe there was a piece of property that was on Providence Street and also Pontiac that was owned by the town, and it was conveyed to the private landowner in order for them to address a concern regarding a disabled child. So that was
actually,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
there was actually a couple of them that year. That was specific to one. The other one was the dam on Providence Street.
Yeah, that's right, correct.
And there was one other one. And I'm not sure if it's because land has to, if there's money exchanged or no money exchanged, how we go about that. And I know it's been on the ballot before.
It's considered an asset of the town.
Well, let me ask a question. What was the difference when we did the thing in Arctic? Was it because of the Arctic redevelopment? Is why we didn't have to? It was a different process.
That fell under the Arctic redevelopment agency, which
They had control of the
enables them.
property.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the reason. So every other piece of property at the town of West Warwick has that. And there's some others that people are asking about now. So we might want to put all this together now and be prepared for the next budget season and put them all on. Because I think there's some areas in Pulaski Street that they're talking about now, and other developers have reached out to us for land. And so we got to look at that and put it all together now.
So we have to put that on hold. I mean, David, we also have the issue of Kent County Water looking for that land between Providence Street and Pontiac too. I mean, so that has to go before the voters as well?
It's town property, yep.
Okay.
And it's not in the Arctic redevelopment district, so. And the question would be, it'll be, conveying, and you'll have the description of the conveyance on the ballot to operating company in whatever company's purchasing it or taking it over, and they vote yes or no. That's basically it. It's just a timing matter at this point.
If we were to have a group of people that had interests, I mean, and I'm not suggesting we have a special election, does it have to be at the financial town meeting?
Yes. And what'll normally happen is it's to take into consideration the possibility of an auction, because if Attorney Cronin's client says, we just want it, and the town's going to convey it and not get anything or get the proverbial, $1, that doesn't prevent someone else from coming in saying that we will purchase that property for $1,000 or $10,000. So in order to be transparent to the process and allow everyone else to bid on it, not just giving it over to the people that have the abutting property, you have to go through the process.
Okay. And if we were to sell that piece of land for some reason,
Same process. If the town of West Warwick, without benefit of any of the economic development agencies that have been created over the past 15 years, wants to sell a piece of property, you have to get the approval of the taxpayer at a financial town meeting in order to convey it.
so if somebody came in and wanted to buy that 7 acres or lot 7 there, that 30 feet of road would go with it, hypothetically.
Yes. Once it's abandoned and reverts back to the town, you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions on that matter? Seeing no more questions, it's been amended. So I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
I'm actually not having the advantage of seeing the map. I know we have the map, but going over that, I'm not going to vote on this.
So he's abstaining, sorry.
Mr.
Councilman,
President, may I
Yes.
interrupt for a moment?
Sure.
This is a public hearing required by statute. I don't know that you look to the public, and I don't know for sure one way or the other, but I just want to make sure that
Nobody did raise their hand, but if anybody has any public comment? I don't see any hands up. Oh,
Thank
I have a
you.
hand up. Nope, I actually have a hand up. Mr. Reed, just state your name and address for the record.
Derek Reed, 62 Andrews Ave. My only question is, if you abolish that road, it looked like there was a lot over there. If you abolish that road and this gentleman that's on the line here ends up with that road becoming part of his lot, that lot that you showed in that map, does that lot lose its frontage? In other words, so that lot loses value across on the other side of that road?
Well, that's the one question I asked was if we still had access to that lot, but you're right, there is frontage there.
The frontage would be that road that you're trying to abolish, if I'm looking at that map correctly. So in the taxpayer's eyes, if that lot's owned by the town and the town wants to sell that lot and the taxpayers vote to sell that lot, the value of that lot has gone down dramatically because there's no frontage. I mean, that's if I'm looking at that map properly.
And that's also if the lot's even buildable, if it's wetland or not. And
So that should be all stuff that the town or yourself or one of your departments looks into before making this decision on abolishing that road. We should look at what the land value is. If there is value, if it's buildable, if it's not buildable, we should make sure we know all that before we come up with an agreement to do anything with this road. Otherwise, that's a piece of land that's pretty much useless. And if I heard Ms. Williamson say, I believe she said 30 acres, that's a lot.
No, it's not 38, 7 acres.
Oh, 7 acres, sorry, 7 acres.
7.5.
7 acres is still a lot of land that could be used if it's buildable, but if it loses its frontage, then it's not worth anything and you can't do nothing with it, really. So I think you should look into all those things before you make this decision.
So Mr. Cronin, how time sensitive is all of this with, I know you're at this point with the questions that have been raised, I'm a bit uneasy myself. How time sensitive is this and whether we can get some answers to some of those questions?
Oh, certainly, the council, this is at the council's discretion, council sitting as a legislative body. You know, it's part of a process that we're going through, but there's not an immediate need, although I would appreciate the town's, prompt attention and to reschedule this meeting to a date certain so I can complete whatever investigation it finds necessary.
So I guess I would suggest that we table this at this point in time. And I don't know what that date certain would be. I would defer to you, David.
Oh, I'm not sure if we can get our answers in a week, but we are meeting.
No, yeah.
Can the tax assessor speak for a moment?
I was calling on you, Sal, but you never came through. Here you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. If that map that everyone was looking, those are public maps that are available through the town's website.
Mhm.
On the left-hand side of the map, there is a list of different layers that you can turn on and off. One of them is the National Wetlands Inventory, streams, water bodies. Almost that entire lot is wetlands. In fact, the town even owns a lot just to the north of that one that abuts there's a development up on the top there where there's some houses. So that lot has a stream running right through a few streams running through it, plus all the wetlands. But that's why the town actually owns it.
Sal, I just put it up for you.
So is that the wetlands, the
Everything in green.
light green?
The light green is wetlands, and then the yellow, the blue line is an actual stream that does run through that property.
And there's even another one that runs east to west, right through the middle of the lot also.
So the town probably acquired this land because somebody didn't want to pay taxes or something on it?
I'm thinking that the town actually owned it when the plat was developed, and they probably gave it to the town as part of the recording of the plat that's out there, the industrial plat.
Right.
Well, I still have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
I would definitely table this. Period. That parking lot.
I'll second tabling it.
Moved and seconded. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
So, Mr. Cronin, we will get some answers, look into it a little bit more, and thank you for your patience.
Sure. The state statute requires notice to abutters and the advertisement of this hearing, and probably would apply to the continued hearing as well. So even if the council was to take a conservative view of this matter and push it, say, past the end of the financial town meeting, a date certain would be helpful in order for us all to comply with the state statute requirements, so that the public hearing could be continued. I believe
You
Tim,
got two issues. The public hearing issue is number one, and that can be continued based upon the rules and regulations of the state statute regarding notice to abutting property owners. Your second issue regarding the financial town meeting, that can be pushed off probably until February or March of next year, only to make sure it's before the council appropriately, and then with the clerk in order to get it on the ballot if it's approved. So don't mix up those two items,
Right.
because one can't happen until the second item can't happen until the first one's completed.
I agree, Tim. I was simply using the financial town meeting as a hurdle for the council, not suggesting that I'd get on it.
Oh, no. I'm just saying,
yeah,
I think what the council is indicating is that this could probably be back before then, 30 or 60 days. I don't know what the pleasure of the council is, but I think the information that's being asked for in order to be presented properly at this hearing, I think could be obtained within the next 30 or 60 days.
Agreed. I'll respond to any inquiry within that time frame.
So with that, Mr. President, I don't know if the council wants to place it on an agenda sometime in either July or August.
Well, we're only meeting once in July, we're meeting once in August, so if it's going to be on one of those agendas, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that Sal and whoever else can do their research and get back to us with everything. And I know, Sal, you explained it's wetlands, but if you actually can put it out and give us a written explanation of what's what, how much is not wetlands, what the valuation of the property is now. Also, I know it's town of West Warwick property, but you also should have a valuation on it. And again, if it's undeveloped land and it can never be developed, then the frontage isn't an issue at that point. But if it's can somewhat be developed, then the frontage is an issue, and Al can confirm that. I think you need 100 feet. Is that an R10 or what is that?
It's a business park.
What's the frontage on it? Sometimes it's 100 feet, 200 feet, 50 feet.
I'd have to check it out, but I believe in the business park it's 100. But I can check that out and I'll get in touch with Tom Cronin. As far as the Tom's mentioning about the advertising, if the matter is continued to date time certain, he does not have to re-advertise. If you just table, then he's going to have to re-advertise for when you put it back on the calendar.
So can we revisit this after, because there is an item to talk about what the summer schedule would be. I don't think we know when the dates of the meetings are going to be, Al. I think that's part of the issue.
The problem is if you just table, then the public doesn't know when it's coming back. So you have, in order for Tom not to go through the advertising, you have to continue to date and time certain. Otherwise, he's got to go through the whole advertising process.
So Mary Beth, make a motion to bring this back to the agenda tonight.
So I would make a motion that we bring item H1 back later in this meeting tonight.
Actually, we could bring it up right now if you want. Get a second. And we'll stick to this.
Okay.
So bringing this back on the agenda, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
This is to bring it back to the agenda?
So we can continue with
Discussion. Continue the discussion.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And now bringing it back to the agenda, I do have a hand up in the crowd that would like to speak. And I'll allow them to talk. Peter, whoever you are, just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, it's Peter Arpin from the Arpin Group. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I can't seem to gain control to put the camera on, so I apologize for that. I wanted to ask a question, though. So if you were to grant the abandonment of that part of the paper road, and West Warwick was to go ahead and, because we were going to bifurcate this where you could grant that petition, West Warwick could hold on to that part of it, and we could later potentially look at acquiring that in some fashion, or perhaps not. But if you were able to grant that partial abandonment or the abandonment of that part of the road tonight, that lot you're looking at and you're talking about, my inclination would be to think that you would pick up some additional frontage, that you would pick up additional land, the town of West Warwick, in essence, because you have eradicated a road that can never be built because of the wetlands. It's not going to go through to the other side of Crudale. we had to pull our warehouse back because of the wetlands. So there's no way you can build and connect Crewdale, as you probably know. So wouldn't that be a benefit to you on that lot as it is to us? I'm confused as to why that would potentially diminish the value of that lot.
Mr. President, if I could respond to that briefly?
Sure.
Mr. Oppen, if the road gets abandoned, even though the town would still own the property to the north of it and had still own half of the road, the 30 feet that Mr. Cronin was talking about, there would be no more road. If there's no more road, there's no frontage to anything. So technically, even though it's unbuildable, and I can tell by the way the photograph was taken, I think the Crewdale Drive issue from Energy Way still goes through. And again, I think Tom made reference to perhaps that portion of it is a paper street, but there's still that issue of frontage. And if in fact we can prove that the property is not developable, it's not worth anything to the town, I think all those issues go away. So I think the town's just requiring a little bit of time to resolve not only their own concerns, the council's concerns, but concerns of others in the community. So I don't think that anything's really going to change. I just think the town would have the evidence to support not only the road abandonment, but also support the conveyance to ARPAN at the financial town meeting, only based upon the fact that it's wetlands, it can't be developed. There's no way there would be any type of legitimate interest in that property from any member of the public. So once all those questions can be answered, I think this will ultimately be done. It's just a question of time to confirm what most people already know.
Okay, because it seemed to me it would be an advantage for to you to have that additional, in essence, that conveyed that part of the abandoned road. So we would see it as an advantage. I would think you as an abutting property owner could potentially see it as an advantage. But you're thinking that there's some advantage to having potential frontage to a road that doesn't exist, right? A paper road.
No, for argument's sake, Crewdale Drive theoretically could be turned into a legitimate road if the science was there, and therefore the town would have significant frontage on Crewdale, and then perhaps be able to market the real estate. However, if the property is ultimately going to be unmarketable because of water, wetlands, high tables, things of that nature, it would make sense to abandon Crewdale Drive and then make a determination whether or not the town wanted to convey or transfer that 30 feet of Crewdale Drive to ARPAN at the financial town meeting. So,
okay, so the lot would still, we had determined, right, the lot would still have access through Energy Way, I believe.
Yeah, but I can't tell what that frontage would be because I'm looking at the drawn map and Joe Hull had put up the larger photograph. I can't tell how much remaining frontage there would be on Energy Way.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion, not to belabor this? Can we continue this subject and set a date and time certain through during H7, which will be coming up when we discuss the summer meeting schedule. So can we just, I don't want to table this discussion. Can we hold it or continue it till later in the agenda?
Just hold it and then merge it with that other portion of the agenda.
Fine. Okay. Thank you.
You're on mute, Dave.
My brain's freezing down here. It's like 32 degrees in this office. I have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Williamson. Do I have a second? To continue?
I believe there was a second from Jason Messier.
Okay.
Licciardi, I think it was Licciardi, but yes.
I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And we'll set the date as soon as we get to H7.
Thank you.
Okay, resolution approving medical stop loss insurance for the town of West Warwick and West Warwick Public Schools.
This is our annual stop loss renewal. Our broker Gallagher goes out to bid and tries to broker us the best deal we can get for stop loss insurance. After I believe only two companies bid, including Blue Cross. Gallagher was able to negotiate some extra provisions at no additional cost to make the Blue Cross one actually the most attractive one, based on protection from large claims. So this is just a resolution for you to approve the contract for us to go with Blue Cross for our stop loss for another year.
Kristen, can you, well, we can do that. I'll move the resolution.
Moved. And do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Now we can discuss it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kristen, could you just tell us what those numbers are, where the stop loss kicks in, what the aggregate is, things like that in comparison to this year?
So that is why I invited Ann.
I figured that. We didn't want
Yes.
Ann to sit here for nothing. So yes.
Right. She is definitely better at getting all that information out. I will be tripping over my words. So.
Not a problem.
And just state your name and address for the record, or
Yes,
who you're
and-
representing.
Ann Capezza, representing Gallagher Benefit Services, 300 Centerville Road, Warwick. So the current stop loss contract has a specific deductible of $175,000. That basically means the town and school own each claimant up to $175,000. To take a step back, in case anyone is not aware, you're self-funded. You don't buy insurance through Blue Cross per se. You effectively work as your own insurance company. So stop loss is that insurance to cap catastrophic claims. So it's currently at $175,000. You do have another layer of insurance. I don't want to muddy it too much, called aggregating specific, which basically means there's an additional corridor. Once you have breached $175,000, every dollar over that breach accrues towards another layer. And basically Blue Cross does not start reimbursing your claims until that $215,000 additional corridor is met on top of all of the high cost claimants. But really what is marketed each year, the first thing that we're looking at is that specific deductible. And that is the one that is set at currently $175,000.
And that's what it's set at for this year, and that's what they're looking to have for next year as well.
That is correct.
But it's at a substantial increase in cost.
That's correct. Yep. And just if you'd like, I can give you a little bit of the analysis in terms of whether we evaluate increasing that specific to save money or not, because that's obviously important, probably a question. The analysis is really quite simple. To go up to the next level of specific deductible, which is $200,000, the premium savings is about $78,000. But you're taking on an additional $25,000 per high cost claimant to get that premium savings. So the question is, how many high cost claimants do you have that we think you'd be paying out that additional $25,000? So as it stands right now, you have 4 claimants who are over $200,000. So on those 4 claimants alone, you'd be taking on an additional $100,000 in claims, usurping the $78,000 in savings. You then have an additional you have 1 more that's between the current 175 and 200,000. So that one's a question, but you do have 4. So right off the bat, we know that it would not make sense to increase that deductible to save money because the risk outweighs the reward.
Ian, when would this kick in?
Your renewal is on a July 1st basis.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So are there any other questions?
Is this the worst results that we've had in recent years? I mean,
in recent years, yes. Although to put it into perspective, the as-is renewal is 19% increase, but actually what we call leverage trend or average increases for stop loss is usually about 17 to 20%. So whereas if we think about medical, that seems like it's very, very high. If you were fully insured with Blue Cross, you'd never expect to get a 20% increase. But remembering that stop loss only pays on catastrophic claims, those claims accumulate. They have an inflationary factor much higher than your average claim. So that's why the average increase for stop loss is actually between 17 to 20%. That said, knowing that 19% was really the best that was on the table, as Kristen said, what we did, having no other negotiating kind of chips in our pocket, we were able to have Blue Cross add 2 additional provisions to your contract at no cost. One of them will protect you. It's called no new lasers at renewal. Stop loss actually can eliminate a claimant from coverage entirely. If you had a very, very sick member on your plan, you know, whether it was potentially a transplant or something that has a high rate of failure, a stop loss carrier could actually choose to not cover them at all, or they could cover them at a higher deductible, say $500,000. So we were able to get Blue Cross to add a no new lasers at renewal, which means as long as that's in your contract, they cannot single out a claimant. They cannot say you're going to pay more for that one claimant or exclude them altogether. The second thing we did was we were able to negotiate a renewal rate cap for the subsequent years. Now, this is going to sound like a bogus number and you're probably going to roll your eyes at me, but we negotiated a 60% renewal rate cap. You'd never renew at 60%. And we understand that, but the reality is the no new laser provision means nothing if we don't have a renewal rate cap in place. That's because they may say, no, we're not going to laser out claimant number 2. Instead, we're going to give you a 200% premium increase. So the renewal rate cap is a very, very high number. It's just that you really shouldn't have the no new laser provision without a rate cap, and that's the best that we could do. So.
Can I ask what your other clients on average are paying this year?
Well, from an increase.
From an increase,
okay. I do have to say that in general, this has been a higher year. I don't think it has anything to do with COVID or, you know, anything like that, because these are not, I don't want anyone to think that these high cost claimants are COVID related claims. They are not. They are looking at the diagnoses, certainly chronic conditions, but they have been in the high teens. They have been in the high teens, and unfortunately had another client with 3 lasers from Blue Cross. They did not have the no new laser provision in their contract. We were not able to add it. So that's why it was important to me to at least get that in there for you.
Okay. So we're not completely an outlier.
Exactly. No, and I wish I had an explanation for that. Like I said, it's not connected to COVID or anything. It's just one of those years.
Okay. Thank you, Ann.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Ann.
Any other questions for Kristen or Ann? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Executive Order 2021-5, extending the emergency declaration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Move the executive. Second.
Moved and seconded. Mark?
Good evening. This is an extension. It'll be the 19th supplemental emergency declaration to extend our state of emergency in town. Basically, we're following the state's path, who still has theirs in place. And that does 2 things for us. It allows us to make rapid personnel deployment decisions if we need to due to COVID. And secondly, it also supports some federal and state grant funding guidance that we'll be going through shortly as the American Rescue Plan money becomes available to us as we apply for it next week. So we're just asking for an extension of our emergency declaration.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. The AC finally shut off here.
Okay. Fiscal year 2022 tax levy resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Kristen, you just want to go over this real quick for the public?
I think Sal put this on here.
Oh, Sal. I'm sorry,
Yes,
Sal.
this is something that the council has to pass every year so we can have a warrant to collect taxes. So this is the authority based upon the financial town meeting and the town referendum that the council orders us to collect taxes for the next fiscal year.
All right. Thank you, Al. Any questions from the council? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
New business 05, resolution supporting legislation to transition management of the West Warwick pension plan to the state pension system, municipal employees retirement system.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilwoman Williamson, I'll let you speak on this.
So for about 15 months, we have been working diligently with the treasurer's office and the unions to research the possibility of moving our pension system, our pension fund, to the state system. After long discussions and a lot of great work from a lot of people, including the treasurer's office, there is legislation that is enabling legislation that has been written by the treasurer's office. We actually, Mark sent that legislation to our state house representatives and senators, and it will be introduced. I believe I heard on Thursday it is being drafted. And what this resolution does is actually just says that the town council is does indeed approve and support the introduction of that legislation. As I said, it's been, I think we started this, actually, I know I started it back in February of 2019 to look at it. We had some hiccups along the way. The treasurer has worked with us. This is an attempt to stabilize the pension system. We have some people who volunteer their time and do yeoman's work on the pension board. Pensions are very complicated things, and quite honestly, I'm not so sure we should be in the pension business. I approached the treasurer back in 2019 about him taking over, or the state taking over, administrative duties as far as the pension goes, and he basically said that that would not be possible unless at some point in time we got into MERS. So we have negotiated and talked with, and I don't even like to use the word negotiation. It's actually, we talked through the pros and cons and benefits of actually making this move, leveraging the expertise of the 42 professionals that the retirement board and the treasurer's office has in their employ, ability to perhaps leverage better returns on our assets. So this is the first step in that process, enabling legislation to allow us to do that. The legislature will retire for the year. I think they usually shoot for June 30th, but sometimes they stick around a little bit longer. It's important that we get this done now. And then there's be some work that'll have to be done, and assets really won't be transferred until sometime in 2022, because we have to transfer all our information to the treasurer's office. Between now and August 31st, we will continue to work on what steps have to be taken and what rules and regulations have to be put in place. And as I said, this is just the first step in that process, which seems we're finally getting to the first step after 15 months of work. So again, I applaud and appreciate the spirit of cooperation we've had from everybody involved. And I believe that this resolution is something that helps the treasurer, and it sends a message to the people in the State House that we as a town council are on board with this process.
And again, as Councilwoman said, I mean, she was working on this for a very long time now, and I've been involved very little in the meetings. On the meetings I have gone to, they've been very productive. And like Councilwoman said, that us being in the pension business is probably not the best thing right now. That the state would actually get better returns than the town. Also, I want to point out that, this has been almost 2 years in the making. And we've been talking about it for a couple of years now. As Mary Beth said, 15 months, but we've been actually going back and forth. And before the meetings actually started, I know Seth Magaziner had some meetings here in town with individuals, with boards and whatever. So with that being said, I know I've reached out to our legislation, and I know Mary Beth has also, in asking them to support the legislation that's coming through. And seems that all our legislation is being responsive. I did reach out to Rep. Norrie, Rep. Serpa, Senator Burke, and I didn't have a message and a call into Rep. Morgan, have not received a call back. But our other three have actually reached out to us and are willing to support the town of West Warwick with this matter. With that being said, is there any other questions on it? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Sarah, you're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I clicked it. New business 06, approval of the employment agreement between the town of West Warwick and Mark A. Knott.
I'll move approval. Yep, go ahead.
I heard somebody motion it. Who motioned?
I move the agreement.
And I had a second from Councilwoman Williamson. I was gonna say, everybody went quiet after they passed the ordinance.
It's a resolution. It's a resolution, and it does. Yes, so it's a resolution that we're moving and seconding.
So Mark, we wanted to move the ordinance and pass that, but we really don't want to hire you.
Talk to you in a few minutes. Turn the AC back on.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, this is an agreement that has been worked on. It's been vetted through the solicitor's office. It's been Mark. We've worked with Mark, and Mark had an attorney working with him. A lot of the language was taken from previous contracts that we've had, and we also looked to other communities where indeed we had people move from one position, such as a police chief, into the town manager role. It is unique for us. It's the first time that something like that's happened for us. I think it's a fair agreement. It has been posted. It's out there for people to look at. As Councilman Messier stated before, this is not costing the town any more money. It does indeed move forward and move up some payments into the police pension plan for Mark, but they're the same amounts that would have been had. We waited until December 14th, 2022. The salary is well in line with what we would have been paying and what the previous town manager was asking for. It's actually less than what the Coventry town manager received. They've recently hired someone. It was important to us because we were asking Mark to step into this role. It's important to us that he not lose anything, any benefits that he would have had he stayed on as police chief. So I believe that this agreement meets those needs. And I think Mark also is comfortable with it. I'll let him speak for himself, but I think that, as I said before, I'm excited about what the next 3 years will bring.
Mark, would you like to speak, or any other council member?
I don't really have anything to add to the pre-vote part, other than, I, a longtime employee, have a lot of respect for, my colleagues and my fellow citizens, and I look forward to continue to serve. But I'll reserve a few other comments till after you vote.
You're that nervous?
Not really.
Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
I vote yes. Congratulations, Mark.
Councilman Messier?
I vote yes as well. Congratulations, or I'm sorry, whichever will judge.
Councilwoman Williamson?
I vote yes.
And I guess I'll vote yes too. Welcome aboard, Mark.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you for stepping up.
You're welcome. If you can indulge me for 2 minutes, obviously I want to thank the town council for their faith in me to handle this important role on behalf of the citizens and employees of the town of West Warwick. I'd also like to thank, my many role models, mentors, and colleagues who have influenced my personality, morals, and leadership and management style over the years, including, but not limited to, my parents and family, my wife and my children, past police chiefs, especially Chief Richard Ramsey, who was my primary mentor over the years, innumerable colleagues and personal friends, and of special note, our former town manager, Ernest Zemlinski, who took me under his wing since naming me as chief of police a few years ago, as he shared his wealth of knowledge on municipal government and operations. I vow to use my strengths, including interpersonal skills, local knowledge and ties, and sincere dedication to public service, to work hard for the town, but also to recognize my weaknesses and insecurities, and strive to gather and learn the appropriate information, surround myself with good people, and to make well thought out decisions that serve our community well. And again, I'm extremely proud of my 27 years of service to the town, and I look forward to serving for several more years in a new capacity. Thanks.
Thank you.
New business 07, consideration of summer meeting schedule.
All right, so we had discussed this a few times over the past couple of weeks. One of the things I just want to point out, obviously there's an election in the first week of July, which is pretty hectic already on a holiday week. So I was just wondering what the council's thoughts are of having a meeting once a month, which would be the second meeting of each month. So it would be the sewer meeting along with the town council meeting in July and August. And with that being said, we're hoping, and depending on what the state does, that to go live in September or October, depending on if we can get the audio video system updated and upgraded. But again, right now, all those audio and video places are very busy because everybody across the state of Rhode Island is looking to do the same exact thing. I know we've been proactively working on it for the past year. I know we've gotten some quotes, some, different things there, and we're waiting for correspondence, I guess, from individuals. But again, as far as meetings go, I was looking at the third week in July and the third week in August. And if anything major comes up, I think, and I want to just point out, I know Labor Day is probably going to happen this year, and there's going to be some licenses, and I think we can have all that approved by the third week of August.
So we're talking about July 20th and August 17th, is that right?
Correct. And I think July 20th will give us enough time to resolve the abandonment portion of the road. I mean, that is, you're talking almost 4 weeks away. And that gives Mr. Cronin and Mr. Oppen a date of July 20th. Does that sound fair?
Not that my opinion matters, but it does sound fair to me, yes.
The rest of the
I
council?
think that I would agree with that. I think if we can do just one meeting, knowing that if we need to have a special meeting or call something else, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
As far as the ARPA matter, then I would suggest that the council is going to sit in recess of that matter, and that will be continued to July 20th. Therefore, there would not be any motion to table, and that would take care of the advertisement issues that Mr. DiFiore spoke about earlier.
Yeah, we motioned to continue anyway, so that'll be fine.
You need a motion from one of us?
No, we just need to set the
No,
dates.
just a, yep.
As long as it's on the record, that it's a recess, it's not being
Sarah-
tabled, that's fine.
No,
on the
but
record
Sarah,
as-
you're okay with those dates? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. They work for me.
The 20th, what was the second date? What was the August date?
17th.
Okay, I'm just writing it down. Thank you.
Yeah. So would we go back and amend that continuance to a period certain, being July 20th, 2021?
I'm not sure, Mr. Solicitor.
Do we need to do that?
Sarah,
Out of an abundance of caution, in case anybody wants to challenge it, my suggestion would be is take a motion to recess the hearing.
Well, we've already
And,
continued it.
well,
right?
you can't, the technical word would be is recess the hearing, and then it'll be continued to a date certain, which would be July 20th, 2021. And therefore, that would, I think, appease the applicant's counsel regarding his issues pertaining to advertisement.
Sarah, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, that's been my experience in the past with continuing public hearings as well.
So then the motion is to recess.
Right. Recess the
hearing
hearing and continue it to a date
until-
certain.
So the motion would be to recess the hearing until July 20th, 2021.
Correct.
Yes.
Is that a motion?
That was the motion, yes.
I second that
second
motion.
it.
all right, I got a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And we should have 5 of us that night too.
Could be a possibility,
You should.
unless there's a recount or something.
You're right. So there should be. No, definitely. There's a chance, there's a possibility.
Okay, upcoming appointments. Sewer Use Board of Review, 1 alternate member vacancy with a term to expire October 2021, and 2 vacancies with a term to expire October 2023. The Pension Committee has 2 vacancies with terms to expire November 18th, 2022 and November 18th, 2021. The Recreation Committee has 1 vacancy. We still have a vacancy under Tree Warden, And the planning board has 2 terms that are set to expire July 2021. The zoning board of review has 2 terms to expire July 2021.
So are
Moving-
those the two, Sarah, are those the two, or are those 2 additional ones? Are those the 2 that we reappointed tonight?
I think on the zoning board, 1, yes, was reappointed tonight, and I think, I'm sorry, 2 on the zoning board tonight, so we should be okay. That vacancy I have to put on there because of the fact that, you know,
Yes.
you guys chose not to approve it. And the planning board, I believe there's only 1 more term because we
Okay.
reappointed 1 tonight.
Thank you.
We're waiting on 1 more renewal. Moving on to public forum. To participate, use the raise hand icon at the bottom right side of your screen, or if you're using a phone, press *9. The moderator will let you know when it's your turn to speak. Comments during public forum will only be heard and not acted upon by the town council. Section 42-46-6 of the Open Meetings Act and the Department of the Attorney General advisory opinions relevant to this item on any public body meeting agenda specifically prohibits the town council from discussing, considering, or acting on any topic, statement, or question presented. The town council may, if warranted, refer such matters to an appropriate committee, to another body or official, or post the matter for consideration at a properly noticed future meeting.
Is there any public comment? Please raise your hand. Just trying to make sure there's nobody here. Joe, my computer's acting up. Does anybody have their hand raised?
I don't see anybody.
No, we're good, sir.
All right, so seeing that, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you next week.
Thank you.